Hello and welcome. You've clicked on this video because you saw the title, or you just watch my videos because you like watching my videos. Either way, welcome. My name is Michelle and I'm going to talk about perpetual optimism and potentially why it exists. Now, I'm going to start without personality and then I'm going to kind of delve into the personality aspects of it. So if you're not somebody who's into personality, maybe this will help you understand why you are so perpetually optimistic. The number one thing that I think causes me personally to be perpetually optimistic is I always want to find the best case scenario. I'm always looking for how we can have the most optimal outcome possible. It's not that I don't see the negative outcomes, it's that I want the most optimal outcome. I want the best case scenario. I want it more than anything. And therefore, that's what I'm going to talk about. And that comes off as childly naive or unrealistic, when in all reality, I know that there are ways that my plan may falter. I know perfectly well that my plan may falter. However, I want to believe that my plan is possible. And I'm not so perpetually optimistic that I don't understand reality and know that there are ways that my plan could go wrong. And I do take into account reality when I come up with these plans. I'm not so delusional that I don't see reality. However, I do want a best case scenario. Are any of you like that? Are any of you so perpetually optimistic because you just want the best case scenario? It doesn't matter if you actually get it, though you might be upset if you don't, or if you really thought it was possible. But I don't always really truly think that this best case scenario is possible. I think that it's something worth shooting for. Now, I'm always looking for the best case scenario that I see, that I can see from the information that I have, to find the best way to accomplish what I want to accomplish. And it can seem unrealistic to people. However, I'm using real knowledge that I have. I'm not just making things up out of thin air. I'm not ignoring the facts. I'm just saying that this would be the most ideal outcome that could possibly exist. And I am taking into reality, but I'm still going to think about the most ideal. And so people who think so much about reality and logic, especially if they're very logically minded, they're not going to agree with you because they're going to say you're not taking into account the reality of things. And the thing is, if you're a perpetual optimist, you know that not all of your plans are going to come true. If you do not believe that all of your plans have some way to falter, then you might be unhealthy in your perpetual optimism, which is okay. We've been there. I've been there. I've been so perpetually optimistic that I thought my plan was going to work for sure, and there was no way it was going to falter, especially when I was a teenager. That was especially true. However, as I've gotten older, I've gotten more realistic, and I've started to also see people for who they really are. Another problem with perpetual optimism is that you see the best in people at all times. Somebody could be a real jerk, and you're gonna see how their situation has led them to feel like a jerk, and how you can feel sympathy and empathy for them, and how they're not always a jerk. It's just their situation that's causing them to be a jerk. That is the perpetual optimist's mindset when it comes to people being jerks. We understand that we've become overwhelmed by emotion, and we've become to a point where we've been jerks, and so we assume that somebody else who's a jerk is having some kind of emotional inner turmoil that's causing them to lash out on the world around them. And for those of you who are interested in personality, I'm going to break this down a little bit further as to myself personally as a Myers-Briggs type ENFP. And I'm going to talk about the Jungian typology behind it, which is the use of cognitive function. So an ENFP has NE, or extroverted intuition, as their lead function, their lead way of viewing the world. And so what extroverted intuition is the ability to see how everything's connected and to see ideas as something objective and outside of yourself. We see possibilities everywhere. We see what things can become, and we see many ways that they can become. And this idea generation would run rampant if it weren't for our next cognitive function. This is the cognitive function that reins in that perpetual searching for ideas, that perpetual everything is connected. We have to filter that somehow, or we would never be tethered to reality, never be tethered to something that other people could relate to. So as an ENFP, our next function is introverted feeling. And introverted feeling is prioritizing what matters, what is more important, what means more, what should I focus on. So when I look at all these ideas, I'm thinking about what my personal values are. I want X, Y, and Z from life. I want X, Y, and Z for other people from life. And so when I look at these ideas, I'm going to filter them out through that filter. I'm going to say, is this what I want? Is this what I want for other people? If it's not, I'm going to throw away the idea, because there's just too many ideas to stick onto one if it doesn't fit with my moral and ethical construct, and if it doesn't fit with what matters to me. And so because of that, I can be a little bit more optimistic, because obviously I want what's good for me and good for other people. And so of the ideas, I'm going to see the most positive ones, because that's what I'm looking for. Those are the ones that mean the most to me. Those are the ones that I think are the most important. So after I've found these ideas, these connections, these possibilities that are the most important to me, I'm going to then think about my next function, which is a childlike function. It's the third slot, and it means that it's not incredibly strong, but it is one of my favorite to use, because it means that I can do something with the ideas that I've found that matter to me. And that's extroverted thinking. And extroverted thinking is kind of an implicit understanding of the logic that guides our rules, the logic of other people and what other people are thinking. We're not always right, because it's not our strongest function. It's not what we're constantly thinking about. But we do think about it a lot. We think about, what are other people thinking? What is the logic system? What is the system that guides our rules? And we don't need to be told. It's self-evident to us, to a vast degree, very self-evident to us. And so we're looking at these ideas, we're filtering them by what matters, and then our TE, or extroverted thinking, is saying, this is what's most attainable. This is how we can attain this idea. This is how we can make this idea work in the world that we live in with the systems that are in place. So the reason why this becomes so perpetually optimistic is because we're finding great ideas that are in line with what we want, and we're finding the most effective and quick and realistic way to accomplish it. And this is all in our minds, right? This isn't what other people are seeing. This is what we're seeing. And I think that's our place in the world as an extroverted intuitive feeler. As an ENFP, our place in this world is to find best case scenarios and to find how to make them happen and to share those ideas with other people. Our job is to be the perpetual optimist. Our job is to be the uplifter, the motivator, the champion. We're here to help other people accomplish their goals, because what's really great about not leading with our introverted feeling like an INFP or an ISFP is that we're not as attached to it, which means we can help other people just as much as we can help ourselves. We can use that extroverted intuition and funnel it through the introverted feeling of somebody else, because introverted feeling is how we feel empathy is by putting ourselves into the other person's shoes. We imagine what it would be like to be the other person. And so If somebody comes to us and says, here's my goal, I want to figure out how to accomplish it, the ENFP is the person you want to go to so you can find the path of least resistance to get there, the best win-win scenario that will get you the goal you want to accomplish. So if you need a perpetual optimist, you're going to go to the ENFP because the ENFP loves solving problems and looking for best case scenarios. So I'm not going to ramble your guys' ears off any further, but I did want to end with this. Perpetual optimism is not delusional unless you get to the point where you do not look at reality at all, which is why you want to keep people in your life who are different from you and who are a little bit more pessimistic. And I don't mean that they're constantly saying, oh, the world is terrible. I mean that they're going to point out the flaws in your plans and say, hey, this is not realistic. You're not thinking about real people when you make this plan. So if you have people like that in your life as an ENFP or a perpetual optimist in general, you'll be able to be more realistic and more capable of creating a reality that is your optimistic outcome ideal. With that, I want to thank you so much for watching. Please share with me below if you are a perpetual optimist, if you know a perpetual optimist, if you get annoyed by perpetual optimists. Let me know down in the comments. Let's start a little discussion about perpetual optimism and how we can use it to make the world a better place, because there is a place for perpetual optimism despite what some people might tell you. There will be people who will say your perpetual optimism is not wanted here. You know what I say to that, perpetual optimists? That you should take your perpetual optimism elsewhere where it is going to actually help somebody. If they don't want to listen to you, then you take that to somebody who will. All right? And with that, I'm going to leave you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful, amazing, fantastic day. Bye!